Prime Field.
Welcome back to Prime Field, where we dive deep into the stories that define the future of sports. I'm your host, and today we're exploring something truly special. Picture this: a 6'3" phenom gliding across the basketball court like she was born there. A player so complete, so dominant, so inevitable, that elite college coaches aren't just interested, they're competing to land her. And here's the kicker: she's still only a sophomore. Her name is Brihanna Crittendon, and she's not just another rising star on the high school circuit. She's a generational talent, a consensus top 10 national recruit in the class of 2026, and arguably the most complete player you haven't heard of yet. At Riverdale Ridge High School in Colorado, Brihanna has done more than fill up box scores. She's rewriting record books, dominating both ends of the floor, and leading her team to something they've never achieved before: a state championship. Their first ever. Now let that sink in. This isn't just about talent. This is about impact, legacy, pressure, and the intangible greatness that can't be measured in stats alone. When scouts call her a three-level scorer and a defensive anchor, they're not just throwing out basketball buzzwords. They're describing a player who's mastered the fundamentals and then elevated them into something far more rare. And she's doing all this, not in meaningless matchups, not during blowouts, but under the brightest lights, in the toughest games, against the best competition the state has to offer. And here's the wild part: she's not just surviving in those moments, she's thriving. Game after game, quarter after quarter, she delivers with precision, with poise, and with a maturity well beyond her years. So in this series, we're going to peel back every layer. We'll explore the skill set that's made her a nightmare for opposing defenses, the mentality that elevates her from star to superstar, and the future that awaits her as college coaches scramble to land the next can't-miss prospect. Because Brihanna Crittendon isn't just building a resume, she's building a legacy. So buckle up, because this is just the beginning. Let's start with the numbers, because sometimes raw statistics tell a story better than any highlight reel ever could. 26.4 points per game. Let that sink in. During her junior season, while the national average for high school players hovers just above 4 points per game, Brihanna Crittendon averaged over 26. But here's where it gets even more interesting. She's not just a volume scorer, she's an efficient scorer. And that is what leaves scouts completely speechless. Throughout her recent campaigns, she's consistently shot at a high percentage. That's not just a hot streak. It's a reflection of her shot selection, her patience, her precision. It's the mark of a player who understands not just how to score, but when to score. This isn't accident or luck. It's the result of thousands of hours, of studying film, of analyzing angles, of reading defenders before they even make their move. But scoring, that's just the beginning of her statistical story. 2.9 steals per game. Now think about that. In a state loaded with talented defenders, she's consistently disrupting offensive sets, jumping passing lanes, and creating transition opportunities like a seasoned pro. And then, there's her rebounding. 5.9 rebounds per game. At first glance, it might not sound overwhelming until you remember she's playing on the perimeter, against bigger forwards, in defensive schemes designed specifically to keep her out of the paint. But Brihanna still finds a way, crashing the boards with timing, tenacity, and instincts that you just can't teach. She turns defensive rebounds into fast break points. She turns offensive rebounds into second chance momentum. Every loose ball is an opportunity, and she rarely lets one slip away. And we're not done yet. She also adds nearly 3 assists per game, and more than a block per game. These aren't just numbers on a stat sheet. They're proof of presence, proof of impact. Crittendon affects every single possession, on both ends of the floor. She elevates teammates, she alters outcomes. And she does it all, without needing the spotlight to validate her greatness. When basketball analysts talk about a three-level scorer, they're describing something rare, a player who can consistently threaten defenses at the rim, from the mid-range, and beyond the three-point line. Brihanna Crittendon hasn't just mastered all 3 levels, she's turned them into an art form. Let's begin at the rim, where her 6'3" frame becomes a serious advantage. But size alone doesn't tell the story. What separates her from other tall players who simply rely on length is her agility. She finishes through contact. She manipulates angles like a chess master. She uses footwork, body control, and touch, all working in sync to produce highlight reel layups that look effortless, but are anything but. Watch her operate in the paint, and you'll see a player who can pivot in either direction, finish with either hand, and most importantly, maintain her composure when defenders try to disrupt her rhythm. This isn't just natural talent. This is craftsmanship, honed through hours of the repetition, study, and sweat. Now, let's move to the mid-range, an area the modern game often forgets, but one where Brihanna thrives. From the elbow to the short corner, her footwork is textbook. Her timing is clinical. She creates space, not by out-jumping defenders, but by outthinking them. This is where her basketball IQ shines. She knows exactly when to pull up, exactly how much room she needs, and exactly how to get it. But perhaps most impressively is what's happened to her three-point game. What once was a developing tool has now become a legitimate weapon. She's not just spotting up in the corner, waiting for someone else to create her shot. She's stepping into threes off the dribble. She's pulling up in transition. She's creating her own looks with a defender draped all over her, even as the shot clock ticks down. This kind of scoring versatility creates what coaches call unsolvable problems. How do you defend her? Pack the paint? She'll torch you from deep. Extend your defense? She'll blow right by you. Play her straight up? She'll carve you up from the mid-range. And all of this is happening before she's even played a minute of college basketball. But here's what separates the great from the elite. As dominant as Brihanna's offensive arsenal is, it's her defensive mastery that truly completes her game. And that is exactly where our story goes next. In an era where most high-profile recruits are praised for their offensive fireworks, Brihanna Crittendon represents something increasingly rare. A player whose defensive impact matches her offensive dominance. Those 2.9 steals per game we mentioned earlier, they're not the result of reckless gambling. They're the product of calculation, of reading passing lanes with surgical precision. Watch her defensive positioning and you'll see a player who knows exactly where the ball is going before it even leaves the passer's hands. And here's the part that really separates her from the rest. She doesn't just get steals. She converts them into instant offense. She turns defense into momentum, into fast breaks, into points. That's not just hustle. That's basketball IQ, operating at the highest level. But Crittendon's defensive game doesn't stop there. She averages over 1 block per game, and not just from standing in the paint. She blocks shots as a help defender, rotating from the weak side, using her length and timing to alter shots without ever abandoning her assignment. And perhaps most importantly, she owns the glass on defense. Her defensive rebounding? It's not just about ending a possession. It's about starting the next one. When Crittendon secures a rebound, she's already scanning the floor, already pushing tempo, already transitioning her team from defense to attack. But what truly makes her special is defensive versatility. In today's positionless game, you need players who can guard 1 through 4, and sometimes even the 5. Crittendon checks that box, and then some. She has the size to defend the post, and the agility to switch onto guards. No mismatches, no weaknesses, just solutions. And here's the kicker. Most players who carry a full offensive load, they ease up on defense, not Brihanna. She thrives under the dual responsibility. She embraces the challenge. She wants the pressure, wants the responsibility, wants to be the reason her team wins on both ends of the floor. And it's that two-way dominance that led to one of the most iconic moments of her career. There are moments in sports that define careers. For Brihanna Crittendon, that moment came during the 2023 Colorado 4A state championship game, a game where her entire school's basketball legacy hung in the balance. Riverdale Ridge High School had never won a state title in girls basketball. Never. And the weight of carrying that dream would break most sophomores. But pressure. Pressure is what Brihanna Crittendon was built for. 22 points, 16 rebounds, 2 blocks. In the biggest game of her life, on the biggest stage she'd ever seen, she delivered a performance for the ages. But here's the thing. These stats only tell part of the story. What made this performance truly legendary was when she made her impact. Late in the fourth quarter with her team clinging to a slim lead, Crittendon took control. She demanded the ball, she embraced the moment, and she delivered clutch plays that sealed a historic victory. Her 16 rebounds? They weren't just numbers. They were statements of will. Every board came in traffic. Every possession mattered. And Crittendon played like she was carrying the hopes of everyone who'd ever worn that jersey. And those 2 blocks? They came at the most critical moments, not just stopping runs, but shutting down any hope of a comeback. These were game-changing plays, championship-winning plays. And when the final buzzer sounded, Brihanna Crittendon had done more than just win a title. She had rewritten her school's history. She had elevated herself from top prospect to certified winner. And college coaches across the country, they took notice. Because what they saw wasn't just talent, they saw a champion. And the kind of player who can bring that same magic to the next level. In the world of college basketball recruiting, there are players who draw interest, and then there are players who spark frenzies. As a top 10 prospect in the class of 2026, Brihanna Crittendon falls firmly into the second category. UCLA, Louisville, South Carolina, Duke, North Carolina, Tennessee. These aren't just good basketball schools. These are blue bloods, the royalty of the sport. And when all of them are recruiting the same player, that tells you everything you need to know. So what are these legendary coaches seeing? They're seeing a 6'3" athlete with elite guard skills, a two-way weapon who elevates her game when the lights are brightest. They see a cornerstone for a national championship run. Her versatility? Perfect for the modern game. She's a matchup nightmare who can fit into multiple systems, play multiple roles, and create chaos for opponents from day one on campus. Despite the spotlight, Crittendon has remained poised, grounded, and focused on one thing: getting better. That kind of maturity? It's rare, and it's exactly why coaches believe she's ready to thrive under the pressure of high-major basketball. Her recruitment spans coasts, conferences, and styles, because her talent is universal. She can adapt, she can excel anywhere. But beyond the offers and the rankings, it's the intangibles that separate good players from champions. Stats tell you what happened. Highlights show you how it looked. But the intangibles, they tell you who a player truly is. Ask any coach why Brihanna Crittendon is so special, and you'll hear a phrase repeated again and again: generational talent. And in her case, it fits, not just because of her size or skill, but because of her mindset. Leadership can't be taught. It's revealed in moments of chaos, in moments where the game's on the line. Time and again, Crittendon is the player her teammates look to for stability, not just for a bucket, but for composure. Her mental toughness has been tested. Double teams, nagging injuries, sky-high expectations, and every time she's answered by raising her level even higher. But maybe the most impressive part? She balances elite status with a team-first mentality. She knows that individual success is empty if it doesn't elevate the group. And you can see that drive in everything she does. In the film room, in her training sessions, in how she encourages her teammates. Her work ethic is relentless. And those close to her will tell you, talent got her noticed, but the grind is what's taking her to the top. These are the qualities that college coaches crave. These are the qualities that win banners. And they all lead to one simple truth: Brihanna Crittendon is the complete package. As we close this deep dive into Brihanna Crittendon, we're not looking at the end of a story. We're witnessing the end of Chapter 1. A 5-star rating is reserved for the rare few, prospects who can make immediate impact and have the ceiling to go pro. Crittendon isn't just a 5-star. She's a prototype for what a modern superstar looks like. 3-level scoring, defensive versatility, instinctive rebounding, clutch championship moments, unshakable mentality. Every single box checked. The college program that wins her commitment? They won't just be landing a top recruit. They'll be securing a franchise player, a leader, a culture changer. Yes, the next level will bring challenges, faster pace, tougher defenders, bigger spotlight. But nothing about Brihanna Crittendon's career suggests that she's anything less than ready. She won't just adjust to college basketball, she'll own it. Because players like her don't come around often. She's not just talented, she's transformational. Whichever program signs her is getting a player who will become a household name. Brihanna Crittendon isn't just a top player in the 2026 class. She's a generational talent on a clear path to greatness. And for basketball fans everywhere, that's a future worth getting excited about. That's a wrap on today's episode of Prime Field. Be sure to subscribe for more profiles on the athletes shaping the future of sports. Until next time, keep your eyes on the court, because the future of basketball, though, is happening right now.
Prime Field.